and gentlemen, the topic of our next presentation is very interesting. The sort of topic that arouses your curiosity. To address us on this topic, to be or not to be, sucker or suckee, I present to you a justice of the peace, chartered financial consultant, author, consumer advocate, motivational consultant, and television show host. I present to you a man who, in the words of Rudyard Kipling, has learned to view triumph and disaster as twin imposters and treats them just the same. Our presenter today, Dr. Godfrey E. McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I recommend to you the profile, the lifestyle of a Suckee. I have no authority to recommend anything to you outside of what God recommends to me. What does he say about suckers and suckees? Oh, say what? The Bible doesn't talk about suckers and suckees? Of course it does. And you all probably have heard the verse already. It is far more blessed to give than to receive. Who gives? The suckee. Who receives? The sucker. It is far more blessed to give than to receive. That's what God says about suckers and suckees. But I want to suggest to you that there's a greater motivation that could become the driving force behind our lifestyle choices as it relates to suckers and suckees. I want to suggest to you that love is in fact the greatest motivating influence for any right behavior. You see, in a previous seminar, I told you that I was asked to speak on the subject, the art of selling. I declined, but I ended up speaking on the topic, the heart of selling. If you love what you do, you don't have to go to work a single day in your life. Wouldn't that be wonderful? For not many of us define work as something we love. As an insurance agent, I got paid for doing nothing. It's a shame. I'm ashamed to confess it. I don't think I worked. I guess I did a little bit of work. But I had fun. I had a ball. I was invited to all the parties. I went to the funerals, I guess. I had to go to those too. I mean, I just had a ball. In Jamaica in the year 1992, at that time I was working with the Jamaica Constabulary Force as an insurance consultant. But they never even remembered that I was an insurance consultant. As far as they were concerned, I was the man who loved them. How can one man love 10,000 people? That's another lecture. But I believe your pastor might be able to bring you up to date on that. It's not very difficult if you understand what love is all about. Certainly as God talks about it. And so the Jamaica police understood me as a man who loved them. And so when they had a quarrel with the government, when the government insisted on underpaying them, as they had been doing for decades before, they decided to come to me. And they said to me, Godfrey, help us. We know that we can trust you. We can put our situation in your hands. And so as an insurance consultant, not as a trained union negotiator, but as an insurance consultant, and I'm sure not as an insurance consultant, but as a friend of the police, as somebody who loved them, they entrusted their entire well-being, welfare into my hands. And so in 1992, I was asked by the Jamaica Constabulary Force to sit on a 3-man panel that was set up to arbitrate between the government and the police force. One member of the panel represented the government, one represented the police, and one was the chairman, a neutral person. I was asked to be the representative of the police. Well, that's a short version. The long version is that before and after that, probably even before that, I worked day and night on the radio stations. Because you see, I knew the police. I knew my subject. I knew my product. I could empathize. I understood their situation. I used all the talk shows that would have me. Not all of them had me, but all the talk shows that would have me. Day and night, I led an airstrike on public opinion on the plight of the Jamaica policeman. So by the time I sat in that tribunal and I began to sit with them, I didn't complete, but that's another story for another time. But by the time I sat with that tribunal, the die had already been cast. I had represented the men and women that I loved. And the Jamaica policeman in that year, as a result of that negotiation, got a 300% increase. Never, ever in the history of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and I can tell you this much, never again will it happen. But it happened. Who was I? In what position did they find me? I was their friend. One who was a Suckee. One who had something to offer and who was willing to offer it. And they accepted me. Of course, as an insurance agent, just like the nurses, you know, I didn't have to sell a single policeman. I didn't have to talk insurance with them. They knew who I was. I happened to be an insurance man, but who I really was a suckable person who loved them. And the world will beat down your door to find you if they believe that you can help them and that you want to help them. In God's economy, the Suckee gets his nod. I want to say to each and every one of you, who wants to use you? Are you underused? You cannot be overused. You know something about the human breast, the female breast? I learned a couple years ago that, you see, I've never been pregnant and I've never had to nurse a child, fortunately. But that's just how God made it. So I didn't know that. Sorry. I learned that when a woman gives birth to a baby, so long as that baby keeps on sucking, that breast keeps on producing milk. And theoretically, that woman's breast can keep on producing milk until the child is 30 years of age. Huh? 30 years of age, yes. So long as the baby doesn't stop sucking. Once he keeps on sucking, God has so made it. You see, God loves suckies. He made us to be sucked. He made us to be used. He made us to be useful. He said to Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply. He made us to be productive. He didn't make us to be parasites. He didn't make us to be licky and grabby and techie and covetous and gravelicious. No, he didn't make us. That is a corruption that came from sin.